Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film The New Boy, directed by Warwick Thornton. So this is a low-key, quite slow film. Overall, I did enjoy it, but it's a film to contemplate, I think. It's a slow burner. It's full of mystery and kind of mysticism even. What you get from this film will depend on your attitude towards religion and spirituality. I am quite spiritual, so that was the lens through which I viewed this film. However, I think this film has enough ambiguity in it that it is open to different interpretations. For someone who's not spiritual at all, I think the film probably still works. The mystical elements are clearly metaphors, or they can be read as metaphors, and I do think it works on this level too. Our main character is a young Aboriginal boy who seems to have mysterious powers. He's kind of caught at the beginning of the film. He's actually caught by a boomerang, which is something I've never seen in a film before. The boy's sent to a Christian orphanage in the Australian outback, headed up by Sister Eileen, who's played by Kate Blanchett. She's really good in this. He appears to have mystical powers, healing powers, and he seems to really connect with the Christ statue in the church. He has an air about him which really makes him stand out amongst the other boys. He just doesn't conform at all, not least because physically he looks so different. He's got this full head of dyed blonde hair. The boy's played by an amazing actor. He literally has about 5 lines in the film, all of which consist of the same one word. So he has to act without dialogue. He has to communicate a kind of spiritual energy just from his body and expressions. He does this really well. It's a kind of, there's a rawness to it, which is just, really good acting. So the orphanage is struggling and living on a lie. So Sister Eileen starts to wonder if the new boy is actually the answer to her prayers. She clearly recognises his mystical powers, but starts to doubt that they may be fully positive when they clash with the kind of Christian conventions. Through a spiritual lens, I think that the film is about the rigidity, the kind of oppressive religious authority of the Christian church. It would appear that the boy does have real powers, yet they become unacceptable because they clash with the way that Sister Eileen thinks that a messianic figure should be like, or rather how the rigidity of the church has taught her what a Messiah-type figure should be doing. The broader metaphor relates to the cultural conflict and colonialism and the clash between the values and culture of an indigenous population and the colonialising westernised spirituality of the Christian church. So I do think the film is saying a lot, even if you treat all of the mystical elements as metaphor. The cinematography is really good in this film. Beautiful shots of the outback, especially at dawn and dusk. And I liked the use of lens flare when the light is created by the boy. I often have mixed feelings about the use of lens flare in films. It kind of reveals the presence of the camera, but often it seems to be used just for aesthetic effect rather than its presence having a meaning in itself. In The New Boy, however, the lens flare patterns around the light serve a genuine purpose in terms of the mystical experiences that are occurring. I just want to make a comment about the ending, so switch off now if you haven't seen it and don't want it spoiled. That said, the film is so ambiguous, so I don't think it's possible to completely spoil it. So, the ending for me seems to be suggesting that by baptising him, Sister Eileen has exercised his kind of indigenous spirituality. After that, we see him dressed more like the other boys. He's conforming, she's kind of tamed him, and she sees him as a possible leader of the convent in the future. But he's lost his spiritual powers. She makes him conform to what the church thinks he should be, and he's lost his potency. If my interpretation is correct, it's a pretty damning critique of the colonialisation of indigenous populations, of how much more sophisticated indigenous cultures and traditions are suppressed by man-made, rigid, oversimplistic dogma. The one thing that I'm not certain about is what we see happen just before he's caught by the man with the boomerang at the start of the film. He appears to be strangling a man, which doesn't seem to be consistent if he is some kind of messiah figure. If the boy does represent the Aborigines, then him fighting with the man could be representing the indigenous population's vain attempt to repel colonial invaders. I quite like this ambiguity. The film is leaving a lot open to interpretation, and I think it works well. I would highly recommend this film. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.